You wake up in Shenyang, 221 BC. Before the sun rises, a drum sounds outside your door. If you are late, your name goes on a wooden tablet. If your work falls short, your family may pay for it. If you say the wrong thing in the market, someone may report you. This is not a palace story. You are not an emperor, a general, or a scholar. You are an ordinary laborer living under Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. And today, your only goal is simple. Survive until night, dawn. Don't be late. You hear it before you see anything. The work drum, not a bell, a drum. Because in Qin, time is not announced, it is commanded. You're on your feet before the second beat. Everyone is. In the Qin legal system, one of the most detailed administrative codes the ancient world had ever seen, lateness is not rudeness. It is a punishable offense. Fines measured in suits of armor. Labor penalties measured in months. Repeat offenders marked with tattoos that follow them for life. The law does not ask if you understood. It only asks what you did. Outside, the street is already moving. Neighbors, other registered laborers heading toward the assignment post in the gray dark. Every adult male in Qin China is registered. Name, age, household, physical description, work history. The state knows who you are with a precision no government before this one has ever attempted at scale. At the post, a low-ranking official reads today's assignments from thin bamboo strips bound with cord. Every order, every tax record, every legal judgment in the empire is written on these strips. Thousands of them. Libraries of wood. Your assignment. Road gang. Northern section. You are hoping for field work. Road gang means you won't be home until dark. You survived the first hour, but now your work will be measured. Morning. Your name is in the ledger. The road you're building connects Shenyang to the northern frontier. The Qin are obsessed with roads. Not because they care about travel, because roads move armies. The empire is only months old, new enough that people are still learning what they are allowed to fear, and already there are threats on every border. Nomads to the north. Resentful conquered peoples everywhere else. The emperor's answer is infrastructure and force. In exactly that order. Your crew is 40 men. You don't all speak the same way. The man to your left is from what used to be the state of Chu, 400 miles south. 6 months ago, he was a citizen of a different country. Now he is Qin. The empire has standardized the written script, the currency, the axle widths of carts, so every vehicle fits every road. What it cannot standardize yet is the sound of human voices. You share gesture, borrowed words, the universal language of men who are both tired and watched. The overseer holds a wooden tablet and records your name at the start. He will record your output at the end. In Qin China, everything is measured. A certified bronze vessel stamped with the imperial seal sits at every official weighing station. You can be fined for using one that hasn't been verified. For the first time in Chinese history, a transaction in the far south and a transaction in the far north operate under the same standard. Neither party can cheat the other on weights. It is genuinely revolutionary. It is also genuinely exhausting to live inside. And in Qin, what gets measured can also be punished. Mid-morning. Words are expensive here. Break. You walk to the nearest market cluster. Markets in Qin China are licensed, registered, and watched. Every merchant is registered with the local magistrate. Traders occupy the lowest rungs of Qin ideology. The state views commerce with suspicion, preferring farmers and soldiers as the productive classes. But markets persist because humans trade regardless of what ideology instructs them to do. You buy millet porridge from a vendor, an older woman with quick eyes who gives you slightly more than the standard portion. A small rebellion, the only kind available here. At the next stall, bronze tools stamped with imperial verification marks. Legal, certified. 3 months ago, the coins in your hand were the currency of a different kingdom. That currency is now illegal. The coins you're holding now, round bronze, square hole, are the same coins used in every corner of an empire, stretching from the Yellow Sea to the western deserts. You notice a man 2 stalls over who has been standing in the same place for a long time, not buying anything. Everyone in this market knows there are informers. No one knows exactly who they are. You eat your porridge quickly. You say almost nothing. The food here is cheap. The words are expensive. Midday. The empire eats first. The food in Qin China is not bad, but it is not yours to choose. Millet is the core. Wheat in the north. Rice if you live far enough south. Vegetables from the small plots behind labor district housing. Meat is occasional pork, sometimes dog. Fish if you are near water. The elite eat better. They always have. What you don't have is abundance. Hundreds of thousands of workers are on the northern frontier right now, building what later generations will call the Great Wall, moving stone and dying at rates that will horrify historians who examine the burial sites. The logistics of feeding that labor force have drained grain reserves across the empire. You feel it in the portion sizes at the market. You feel it in the prices climbing week by week. The empire is hungry, and it feeds its armies and its projects before it feeds its laborers. You don't say this out loud. You have learned, quickly, the particular silence of people who understand that the wrong sentence in the wrong place has consequences. The empire is hungry, and it eats laborers first. Afternoon. Everything gets recorded. The hardest thing to explain to a modern person about living in Qin China is this: the law is not somewhere else. The law is here. In 1975, archaeologists near modern Hubei discovered a tomb containing a Qin official buried with his complete set of legal documents, hundreds of bamboo strips. The man took the law to his grave, not as warning, as professional equipment, as something he spent his career mastering and was, by some measure, proud of. The Qin Code covers agriculture, construction, military service, warehouse management, criminal procedure, and civil disputes. It answers questions like, what is the fine if a horse damages a neighbor's crops? How do you properly record the death of a registered worker so his household doesn't keep getting taxed? What happens if you accidentally break a government storage seal? No state in the ancient Chinese world has attempted administrative control at this granularity before. Your afternoon work runs until the drum sounds again. You've moved stones. The overseer records the number. Tomorrow's assignment will be calibrated against today's output. You are not a person inside a machine. You are a number in a ledger. And this ledger is very, very accurate. Tonight, you go home alive. Tomorrow, the ledger remembers. Evening. Careful what you say. This is what no one warns you about. The evenings are quiet. Specifically, carefully, strategically quiet. The Qin state is deeply suspicious of scholars who quote old texts to argue against current policy. Officials who invoke the Qin Dynasty's model to criticize Qin methods face consequences. The burning of the books is still 8 years away, but the culture that makes it possible is already here, already in the air, already shaping what people are willing to say in front of strangers. In your labor district, there are no public debates, no poetry gatherings for ordinary people, no street philosophers. What there is, walls, family behind them, neighbors you've known for years and still measure your words around, and one old man in your building, from what used to be the state of Wei, who sometimes recites old songs under his breath. Just fragments, melodies from a country that no longer exists on any official map. Nobody reports him. Not because they aren't afraid, because some things feel worth the small risk of protecting. Night. You made it. For today, the drum sounds for the last time. The empire is only months old, and it hums with a pressure you can feel in your chest at night. The sensation of enormous force applied to very small human lives, with great precision, and very little mercy. You lie down on your sleeping mat. Your wife is already asleep. Your son, 7 years old, will be registered with the state when he turns 14. His labor capacity will be assessed. His household obligations calculated. The system that has measured your life will begin measuring his. You don't think about rebellion. You are too tired for rebellion. You think about whether tomorrow's assignment might be field work instead of roads. You think about the old man's songs. You wonder, in the way that exhausted people wonder about things they cannot change, whether this is what life is now, permanently, forever, or whether something will eventually give. Something will. The Qin Dynasty will last exactly 15 years after unification. The most systematically controlled state in ancient Chinese history, the one that unified the script, the currency, the roads, the weights, the law, will collapse before the first emperor's tomb is finished. That tomb, 40 miles east of where you sleep tonight, contains underground rivers of mercury according to ancient sources and modern soil analysis, and 8,000 terracotta soldiers standing in formation in the dark, waiting for a war that will never come to them. The dynasty collapses. The men who built it are gone. But everything it constructed, the road system, the legal architecture, the unified script, the idea that China is one thing with one ruler that does not collapse. Every dynasty after Qin inherits parts of the machine it built. Every emperor who follows him inherits the title he made possible, Huangdi. And the roads your crew laid today? Parts of them are still there. That was 24 hours in Qin Dynasty China. Not the emperor's throne room, not the first emperor's legend, but the ground level, work drums and bamboo ledgers, standardized coins and unspoken rules, a 7-year-old boy who will one day be registered, and an old man's songs from a country erased from the map. The Qin lasted 15 years. Its shadow is still here. Subscribe for more immersive historical reconstructions. And drop a comment. What civilization should we step into next?